Commercial music station Greatest Hits Radio has seen another boost in listeners, now boasting a larger audience than BBC Radio 1, according to recent figures. The station, which hosts several ex-BBC DJs including Ken Bruce and Simon Mayo, recorded an average weekly audience of 7.69 million from January to March this year. This is a 14% increase, nearly a million up from the previous quarter's 6.75 million, and a whopping 50% leap from 5.12 million the previous year. The success of Greatest Hits Radio can be attributed to big-name signings like Ken Bruce, who moved over from BBC Radio 2 in April 2023, bringing with him the much-loved Pop Master quiz. Simon Mayo, former Radio 2 Drive Time host, has been presenting the same slot on Greatest Hits Radio since March 2021. Other broadcasters who once had long-running shows on BBC Radio, including Paul Gambaccini, Jackie Brambles, Alex Lester, and Richard Allenson, also feature on the station. Its weekly audience of 7.69 million from January to March this year was large enough to surpass BBC Radio 1 for the first time, which had 7.31 million listeners across the same period, as per data published by research body Rajar. While Greatest Hits Radio targets a different audience from Radio 1, focusing on music from the 1970s, 1980s and 1990s rather than contemporary pop and dance, this crossover reflects the rapid changes in the UK's listening habits in recent years, accompanied by significant shifts within the radio industry. BBC Radio 2 continues to dominate the airwaves, boasting an average weekly audience of 13.23 million listeners in the latest quarter, a figure that remains largely unchanged from the previous 3 months. Despite losing a million listeners following Ken Bruce's exit in spring 2023, the station's numbers appear to have stabilised. Radio 1 is also maintaining its listener base, with its latest figure of 7.31 million only slightly down from 7.33 million in the previous quarter. However, the BBC's local and regional stations are seeing a continued decline in listenership, with a total average audience of 6.85 million from January to March 2024, a drop from 6.99 million in the previous quarter and 7.38 million a year earlier. This decrease comes as the corporation has been forced to make savings due to high inflation and a license fee freeze, leading to plans for local stations to share more content and broadcast fewer area-specific programs. In July to September 2021, the first quarter since Rajar resumed reporting post-COVID-19 pandemic, the BBC's local and regional audience stood at 9.16 million. Listeners were told in February 2023 of Ken's impending move from the BBC to Bauer at the end of March that year as part of his venture into Greatest Hits Radio. However, fans faced another disappointment when the news broke that the BBC had forced Ken to cut short his contract. "I will be presenting my last show on Radio 2 next Friday. I had intended fulfilling my contract until the end of March, but the BBC has decided it wants me to leave earlier. Let's enjoy the week ahead," Ken announced on Twitter on February 24. This prompted outrage as Radio 2 listeners accused the BBC of ageism following the departure of other old-time favourites such as Paul O'Grady, Steve Wright and Vanessa Feltz. "I was slightly surprised by the interest. To star it was just told bloke leaves job, which is not news," Ken confessed in an interview with New Magazine last year. "So it's been lovely, Actually, and everything has happened at the same time, he remarks, talking about embarking on a new career journey at age 72. It feels right and I'm really enjoying it. I recommend that if anybody has the opportunity when they get to a certain age to just take a slight different direction in life, then do it. Why not? Ken made his first appearance on Greatest Hits Radio on April 3, where he now hosts his show every weekday morning from 10:30 a.m. Vernon Kay, the former Radio 1 presenter, was handpicked to fill Ken's shoes and took over as the new host of the mid-morning show on Radio 2, making his debut on May 15. Follow Mirror Celebs on TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube and Threads.